In today's tutorial, we're going to learn how to use the basic tools in Photoshop as a beginner. Join me and let's get started. Hello everyone, you are welcome to my channel. I'm Bright, and on this channel, we make videos on Photoshop tutorials, graphic design, and also share some tips in technology. If this sounds like something you're interested, then kindly consider subscribing. In today's tutorial, we're going to learn how to use some of the basic tools in Photoshop as we beginners starting photo. In our recent tutorials, we talked about some of the tools, starting from the move tool up to the crop tool. So if today is the first time of hitting my channel, then after watching this, you can click through my Photoshop playlist to watch the previous videos on Photoshop. Today we are going to start from the eyedropper tool and also talk about the rest of the tools. Also talk about certain things we need to know about Photoshop. Now, as we did in the previous tutorial, we learned how we can set up a new project. So let's get started whilst we are setting up a new project. To set up a new project, as we do always, you go to File, then we are setting up the project with an image. So we go to File, we go to Open, then we click through our file manager where our image we want to use for the tutorial is. Mine is on my external disk, that's external disk F. So you can choose where your image. I want to use this image for the tutorial. So I will click on the image, then click on Open. Now the image will show up on Photoshop for me. We're going to use this image to explain the remaining tools in Photoshop. I will start with the eyedropper tool. The eyedropper tool is a very simple tool, and what it does is it samples the color of any part of the document or image you are working with. So it simply works like this. Before that, let's look at where the mouse cursor is. You see the foreground color here is black. When I select the eyedropper tool here, I left click on any part of my document. It will sample the color of where I have clicked on the foreground color. So assuming I want to use that color to do another thing or work on another thing, I can sample it on the foreground color, then use it to work on it. Let's watch this. Now the foreground color here is black, and I have selected my eyedropper tool. So I will click on the, let me say, in the face of this gentleman on the forehead. So you see it has sampled the color of the forehead of the gentleman over there here. And if I click here it has sampled this color. If I click on the chair, this gentleman, it will sample the color for me. So that is it for the eyedropper tool. It's very simple. The eyedropper tool is there with other tools, but we are talking about the basic tools. So we will explain the advanced tools later as we progress. The next tool we are going to talk about here is the spot healing brush. Spot healing brush is one of the tools we use in most of the photo editing. It is just used for cleaning black spots and pimples on the. So assuming you are editing an image and there is a pimple on the person's face, or there is a black spot, or there is anything on the face you want to get rid of, you can use the eyedropper tool. Let's look at these two. So I will select my eyedropper tool, then zoom to the face of this gentleman, and you can see there are little black spots on his face, and there's also a pimple here. So I will select my spot healing brush, then come to where the black spot is, then click on it. You see the black spot is no more. Let me go back, let me undo it so that you see where the black spot was. So this is how it was. You see the black spot over there. So I'll click on it and I'll get rid of it. Let me go back like this. It's over there. I'll click on it, and that's the work of the spot healing brush. And you can see there's one pimple here too. If I click on it, yes, it will get rid of. Let me undo it so that you know how it was. You see the pimple over there. If I click on it, it will get rid of it. In order to get your accurate result of it, you need to zoom the image. You need to zoom the image to where you want to get rid of the black spot or the pimples. Okay, now we can say spot healing brush is also there with other tools because there's a chevron just below it. So if I click on it, there are another tools here. We have the basic tools we use. For the content aware move tool and the red eye tool is for the advanced level. So we will talk about that one during our advanced tutorial. Let's go to the healing brush tool. Here, the healing brush tool also does the same work as the spot healing brush tool. But here, there is a little different. The difference here is that when you are using the healing brush tool, you first need to hold the Alt key to define your a source point where you want to sample the face color from, or you want to sample a particular color from. Let's do this, how it works. If I select my healing brush tool, I can clean the black spot here, but here I need to first sample a particular color from a source point before I can get rid of this I can get rid of this black spot. There is it. You first hold Alt. Then after holding Alt, you see the cursor will now change. The cursor is telling me to choose a particular place or a particular color I want to replace with where the black spot is or the pimple is. So I'll hold my Alt key, then sample the color from this side. Now I have finished sampling the color. Then you see, as I'm moving along, the color is also following the cursor just like that. So I will now come and replace that color with where the black spot is. I'll just put it there, then I'll click on my mouse. Just it, and it will get rid of it. You see, it is still there. I can also put it at this place to also get rid of this black spot too. That's it. I can also put it at this place to get rid of this one too. Yes, and that's the work of the healing brush for you. It works together with the spot healing brush, but here the difference is for the spot healing brush, you need to sample. For the spot healing brush, you just need to click on the black spot or the brush. You need to sample a color from a source point, then use it to get rid of your pimple. The next tool you're going to talk about is the patch tool. It will work like the just like the lasso tool we talked about in a recent video. It just works like the lasso tool. Here, you first have to make your selection. After that, you can click and drag to patch. As the name is telling us, you are patching it. So you have the will to do a freehand selection of where you want to patch. Let's do something here. Let me zoom. I have selected the patch tool. I can click and drag to make my selection at this point. So assuming I have made a selection here, then after getting to where I started the selection, it will now change to this for me. Then I will click and also drag it to where I want to see. So wherever I drag it to, that place will replace the initial selection I made. As you can see, whilst I'm moving it, it is also where I have made a selection is taking the path of where I am sending the selection to. So if I bring it to the hair, you see the hair will be there like that. If I bring it here, it will be here like this. So that's it for the patch tool. The next tool we are going to talk about is the brush tool. For the brush tool, as the name entails, it's just for use for brushing. The brush and the pencil, it's like painting stuffs. So let me create a new project here. So I'll go to file, I'll go to new. For this time, I'm going to new as we learned in the previous video. I'll go to new. Then I will make the selection of my dimensions 5 by 5 inches, and also the resolution is 300. Then I will click on OK. new project is ready. You can see the old one is just here, and this one is also a new one. So you can work with much. Now, before I will use the brush tool, I will have to change my foreground color to the color I prefer. So let me say I want to use blue for this one, or let me say sea blue will be okay for this one. I will select it. Now click on it. You first click on the foreground color, choose your color, then click on OK. You see now the foreground color has changed to sea blue. I will now come and choose my brush tool. So after clicking on the brush tool, you see the cursor will now change. You can increase and decrease the size of your cursor at this point. So after clicking on it, you come to this chevron here, then click on the chevron, then increase the size of the brush. As you can see the size is becoming bigger as I increase it. Very good. And you can also increase the hardness of the brush. Like I'll do that one too for you to see. So this is the size of my brush, and the hardness of my brush is at 0%. Let me increase the hardness a little bit. Then now I can use my brush tool to paint. So as you can see, I'm painting. That's it. And let me show you one thing. If I also increase the hardness of the brush to this point, it will also give me a different thing here. Let's see. You see now the painting is not it's not like what I did initially. Now it's very hard. So I can use the brush tool to paint wherever I want to paint. I want to draw a tree here, so I'll come to my foreground color, then choose, let me say, this color here, like this, then paint it here too, like this. Okay, I can also reduce the size of my brush and just play with it like that. Okay, come to the foreground color again, left click it, then come and choose a different color. Let me say I want to choose this color. Click on it, then come back to my project, then draw my tree very nicely. That's it. So that's also the work of the brush tool. The next tool we're going to talk about is the clone stamp, or the clone tool. Cloning simply means making duplicates of a part of a, let me say, a document or a project. Here you define your source point. Then after you have defined your source point, you just left click at a different place to make a copy of the source to the current position. I will select my clone tool here. You see, after selecting my clone tool, let me increase the size of the tool. Okay, like this. Very good. It works like the healing brush. I'll hold on the Alt key, then define my source point by clicking on it. So you see, wherever I go, the place I clicked will now follow me like this. Will follow the cursor so that I can click it here. You see, it is also here, as you can see, like this. Here, you see how it is working. So just making a duplicate of the initial document, or let me say the initial thing I have here. You see, that's the work of the clone tool. So if I want to make a duplicate here, I'll just hold the Alt, select my my object I want to duplicate, then come and paint it around like this to make a duplicate. So this is also the work of the clone tool. Next tool we're also going to talk about is the history brush. It can also be used for brushing. It can be used to brush. That's the history brush. You see, it is also used for brushing, as I used here. Very good. Let me undo it so that you see it. Most of the times, I don't normally use this tool because I don't know, I've not done any work that will demand the use of history brush. So by then you need to know it, since it's part of Photoshop. Now the next tool we are going to talk about is the eraser tool. And easy to get rid or clean an unwanted part of a a document or a project. So assuming I'm working on a project, or I'm working on an image, and I'm working on a flyer, and I don't need a particular part, I can use the eraser tool to erase it. Yeah, you can use the eraser tool to erase it. That one too, you can right click on it for more options. Here, they are all basic tools here. So we're going to talk about all these three tools. So first, let me come to the eraser tool. You can adjust the size and the hardness of the eraser here. So you see the hardness is up to 100%. Let me put the size to, let me say, 108 pixels. The hardness is 100%, and look at how it is going to work. You see how it is cleaning. Yes, it cleans very hard. Like this. Now let's also reduce the hardness and see. Let's reduce it to, let me say, 0% and see what is going to happen. Still, it will clean, but here the cleaning will be like fading. The eraser won't be hard like as it is now. So you can see, so you can compare this part of the cleaning to this part. You see, it is cleaning. Let's go and work on the first document too. You see, it is cleaning here, but here the cleaning is not hard as compared to when the hardness is set to 100%. You can also use to clean. So compare this cleaning to this cleaning. See, there's a huge difference in it. So that's also the work of the eraser tool. Let me undo it so that we continue with the next tool under the eraser tool. You have the background eraser. As the name is telling us, it is used to erase background. See, this is the size of my eraser here, my background eraser tool. I can adjust the size by increasing it like this. And I can also adjust the hardness. It will also make the eraser hard or soft. Softness will be like, it will be fading. So let me now come to my project. I want to clean the background. I want to clean. See, the background is being clean like that. The background is being clean like that. The background is being clean like that. Now, one thing you need to be very careful when you are working with this tool. It will clean the background, all right, but you need to be very careful so that you don't clean the main object you are working on. As you can see what I did here. So I will be very careful in order not to clean the main objects I'm working with. So like this, just to clean it very nicely. If you don't take care, you can just do something like this just to clean the main object you're working with, and that's not what you're also looking for. So you need to be very careful when you are using the background eraser tool. Now the next tool you're going to talk about is the magic eraser. The magic eraser is also a perfect tool for cleaning backgrounds, and just to get the clear meaning or the clear knowledge we are looking for on this tool, let's go and choose another picture. After that, I'll do some comparison with this picture. So you go to open, then that picture is being okay. Go, yes, that's where the picture is. So let me go to my resource pack. That's it. I'm having a particular picture here I want to use for this illustration. Okay, let me choose this picture, then open it. Okay, one thing you need to know is that this picture is having a plain background. Yes, a plain background, but the other picture wasn't having a plain background. The magic eraser tool works perfectly on images with a single color background or a plain background. Let's see, on this image, I will select my magic eraser tool, then just click on it like this. You see, the background is gradually getting out. You see where the hair is, you need to be very careful with that place too. So when you're working with it, you see, I'm getting rid of the background just like that with just a single click. But let's look at the other image. This one, you see the background is a little bit complex. So the background, the magic eraser here, it will work, but it won't be perfect. You see, it will be leaving some parts. You see how it is working, because So before it can work, so unless you become very careful when you are using it. But for me, I prefer using it on images with a plain background. That one, it works perfectly for me, just with a single click. Very good. So that's it for the background eraser and the eraser tool at large. Now, the next tool we are going to talk about after the background eraser is the gradient tool. Let's look at something here. Gradient is just a color, a double, let me say a dual color or a double color this thing. So if I want to apply a gradient or a gradient background to my project, I will simply use the gradient tool. Yeah, just for applying the gradient color. So let me use the middle project. This is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. So let me use the second one to do this. So let me get rid of these things here. So just undo them so that you go to the initial stage of the project. So I'm having this. Assuming I want to make the background. I don't want to make it white, but I want to make it a gradient color. That's, let me say, a combination of maybe blue and orange color. That's the color maybe I'll choose. So I will select my gradient tool. After selecting my gradient tool, you see the tool bar here will change because each tool is having a particular bar it is working with, as I explained in the previous tutorial. So I'll select my gradient tool. Now already the color I'm having here is blue and white gradient, as you can see from here. So I want to choose another color. So I'll first click on this here, the color stop here. The color of that part will show here. Then I'll come and click on it, then choose my color, the orange. So I'll drag my cursor to this point now, select the orange color for it. You see now it has changed to orange. Now here I will choose, let me say, blue color for it. So I will drag it to this level, then choose blue color, then you see it has also changed to blue. Now there's one thing I want to tell you here. You need to notice something. Before you start with the gradient tool, check the opacity of your colors. So instead of clicking the color stop at the down here, you rather click the opacity stop to check if the opacity is at 100%. Very good. If then you can adjust it to the way you want. Same applies to this side too. Else you apply your gradient and you won't be seeing it. Okay, now I have finished choosing my color. I will now click on OK. Okay, so select this. You see the cursor has changed. Now I can start from this side, then draw this line like this. And you see I have got my nice gradient color here. You can decide to choose from wherever you want to start. Somebody can decide to choose from left to right. I chose mine from up to down. So that's it. It depends on you. So now the next thing you're going to talk about is the paint bucket. As you know, it contains the paint. So I want to change the color here. I will first select my paint bucket. It's also part of the gradient tool. So select my paint bucket. Now come to my foreground color. Then choose the color I want to use for my background here. So assuming I want to use, let me say, let me use green. Let me use green for it. So I will select my green color here. Then click on OK. Now I have selected a foreground color here. So the click I will make here will change this color for me, like this, like this, like this. You see? So it's just like that paint bucket contains the color I want to use. So by selecting my color, I have poured the the paint in the paint bucket, and I'm now using it for my work. Okay, so you do it until you get the color you are looking for. That's it. That's it for the paint bucket tool. There's also another tool at that place, but you see, it's a the 3D material drop tool, but it's a 3D tool. It works at the advanced level. So we'll talk about that tool when we get to the advanced tutorial.